Hey, what's up? I'm Mike Rosica. I wanted to chat real quick about how we're going to be releasing this podcast. And since both Drew Paul Bell and myself have pretty active YouTube channels, what we've decided to do is to split it up. So, on the Young Architect YouTube channel, I'm going to post all of the episodes that are even numbered. So, episode 0, episode 2, 4. I'm going to post all the even numbered episodes. And Drew Paul Bell's going to take all the odd numbered episodes and post them on his channel. And so, to make it easy so you're not bouncing back and forth all these different episodes, I would first say both subscribe to both the Young Architect and the Drew Paul Bell YouTube channels. But what both of us are going to do is we've created a playlist on each of our YouTube channels called the Mike and Drew Architecture Podcast. And in that playlist, it's got all the episodes listed. And even though Drew Paul Bell, posted episode 3 on his channel, I can still add that to the playlist and have it sequential. And to make it even easier, I've created links, 2 links. I have youngarchitect.com/Mike, which will take you to the playlist on Young Architect channel, and youngarchitect.com/Drew, which will take you to the same playlist on Drew's channel. In some ways, it doesn't even matter whose playlist you're watching because they're the same exact videos. And so that's how we're going to do it is, Young Architect will post the even, Drew's got the odd numbers. And then in a couple of weeks down the road, after we get this playlist, this podcast kind of rolling out a little bit faster, we're going to strip the audio. We're just going to take the audio from all these and we're going to actually put it out as a podcast, the same way we publish the Young Architect podcast. We'll post it on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. We'll get it out there. But for now, we're just releasing these on YouTube. So that's how we're doing it. And I hope you enjoy the new show. Take care, everyone. What's up, everyone? Me and Drew Paul Bell are back. How you doing, Drew?
What's up, man? I'm doing good. How about you?
Really good. I'm excited to record another podcast with you this week. I feel like, you and I start these podcasts and it just like the organicness of it. And, it's been a lot of fun. So I don't know. Let's start real quick with just talking about the coronavirus. I'm in Florida. You're in New York. How's it going in New York?
New York's going okay. I guess the statistics right now are saying that we are one of the better states in the country. And it feels like about damn time. I mean, it's been a long, I still don't know like what that means exactly because I'm still wearing masks and I've been going into the office for, my second week right now. And we're going in 2 days a week. And then working from home the other days and we're alternating. So on like group A, I'm in on Mondays and Wednesdays. And then there's a group who's in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then we all work from home Fridays.
Yeah.
But, we've been having outdoor dining. So that feels like it's a little bit back to normal. And honestly, it feels really nice being able to eat outside. It kind of reminds me of time when I studied abroad out in Spain. Mm-hmm. And that's really cool. But I was walking home the other day and it's like all these people have been inside for 3 months and they forgot about rain. And so it started raining and everybody's freaking out. And I have a bag with me with an umbrella in it. So I'm good to go. And I stopped by the grocery store, get some groceries. I'm walking home. And then there's all these people who are like, they forgot about umbrellas. And then they're eating dinner outside because they can't eat inside. And now they're all like huddled underneath the awnings. And I'm like, you chumps.
Yeah, they got to pay and
forgot
get out of
umbrellas.
there. Yeah.
So I felt a little smug walking past all those wet people out there yesterday in my neighborhood. So I got to feel superior for a little bit. It's going all right. How was Florida, though? So I've heard that the stats out in Florida are looking pretty bad.
I feel like the tables have turned, like we've been going, all the restaurants opened up. Florida, when it was bad in New York, it wasn't that bad in Florida. We were actually one of the better states during the couple months ago. But once, I would say right before Memorial Day, middle of May, we started to open up. And I don't know, everyone just went crazy. And now we're one of the worst and we're skyrocketing as far as coronavirus cases. And I don't know, for me personally, like I haven't really, not much has changed since all of this began, even when we did open up. I wasn't still going out a whole lot. But I think what freaks me out is I'm just terrified of getting coronavirus before my big event. I have the Young Architect Summer Series in 3 weeks, and that's like the last thing I need to deal with right now. So I'm just panicked. I wouldn't say I'm panicked. I'm just freaked out. I don't, I wear a mask everywhere I go, and I don't really leave the house. So I'm just hoping for the best. I just got to get through these 3 weeks, and then if I have to get coronavirus, I'll happily take it then. But I just can't take it before then. So
yeah, it's funny, man. For all the talk about how they're like, oh, you got to wear your masks. It's like if you take it super seriously, I feel like you have a pretty good amount of control over getting it or not getting it. If you stay in your house and you take it super seriously, I don't see how it could really get in. Now, granted, there's lots of stories every other day. You see some article about somebody who did all the things right and still got it. So of course, like that still happens. But like if you really double down 110%, you're like, yeah, I'm just fuck it, dude. I'm staying in the house, in the apartment. If people out there are not wearing their masks, doesn't stop you from staying inside if you're super serious about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the only time I really leave is to go to a grocery store and to go work out.
Yeah, dude.
And that's where, if I'm going to get it, that's where I'm going to get it, is I go to CrossFit every morning at 7 a.m. But as weird as it sounds, like CrossFit, yes, we're all working out, but half the time we're there, everyone's cleaning. We're cleaning everything we touch. We're cleaning everything. Everyone is turned into a janitor there. So in a weird way, I feel like it's actually kind of a safer place to be because there's so much sanitizer being thrown around constantly. But yeah, that's the only place I've gone.
I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out the very things that they're telling us not to do is actually a little bit more damaging. Like you got to get that exercise, and that's actually better for your immune system, and probably is going to make it less likely that you get it. I've heard that there have been reports that like vitamin D deficiencies make it more likely that you would suffer from it, that you may die from it, or that you would get it. Yeah. And then they're telling everybody to stay inside. It's like, I heard that when they had the plague back in the day, they had like, they thought it was the cats, so they killed all the cats. But turns out it wasn't the cats, it was the rats. And so then they killed the cats that were going to kill the rats.
Oh, and God.
Then it went fucking crazy. So it's like you think you know the problem. So then you're like, oh, here's a solution. But really, it's this complex system that you don't really understand. And then some unknown variable comes in. Yeah. I don't know. I don't mean to come off as like some skeptic who doesn't listen to people. Yeah. But
yeah, I've
gotta be intelligent.
I've been watching the news and just getting angrier and angrier and angrier with everything, and now I've stopped. I put it on hold. I can't look anymore. I gotta get ready for some series. Yeah,
for stopping, because I haven't been able to stop.
It's just it's a dumpster fire every time you look.
Dude, yeah, it is.
But I don't know. I gotta focus on myself and the things I gotta get done, and it was just kind of interfering with that. So
Dude, so speaking of coronavirus, I got a buddy of mine at the office who he and his family are now, he has like a wife and 2 kids, and they are moving to Hong Kong.
Wow, that's a big move.
And yeah, man, so you're basically going to, I mean, it's not, I know it came in from Wuhan or whatever, not Hong Kong, but Hong Kong also in the news, and that all sounds crazy to me.
Why Hong Kong?
And it was so his wife is a teacher at Columbia, and she, I guess there's something about not renewing licenses, not renewing contracts, and so she was applying to other jobs, and like the only one she got was in Hong Kong, and so that's where they're going, and they're originally from like Europe, so it's funny that they've gone from Europe to the U.S. to Hong Kong, and they got all these like citizenship issues they got to jump around. And when he came into our office, he ended up bringing in he was like the laser scanning guy. He came in because he had actually, long story, but he had used to work at this firm like a decade ago or something like that. Mm-hmm. He left, went some other places, and somehow came back, and then he was like, I know how to do these things. I can do these renderings. So he's like a pro at the renderings, mm-hmm. and at laser scanning. and he talked the principals into buying a laser scanner. And the principal saw it as kind of like investing in this other arm of the company, so we could go do surveys. And like they spent quite a while debating it, like if they were going to go with it, which one they were going to get, splitting hairs out over, well, this laser scanner costs a little bit more than that one. Are we going to pay for the Matterport, which I don't even understand what that is yet. But so they kind of invested a lot in this guy and in scanner. And now after like a year or two, he's leaving. And so
frustrating.
It is what it is. But he messaged me on Monday saying that I'm going to become the new scanner guy. And I heard them talk more about it today, and it sounds like they're interested in getting multiple people. They want like 4 people ready to use this thing, and so I'm going to be one of them. But I think it's going to be really cool. Like I've seen the point clouds that they produce, and it's super helpful. Way more helpful than like sketched out surveys from site visits. So I'm looking forward to learning it.
So, how much time do you have? This guy's, is he there 2 weeks, or did he give more time than that to train you?
I think he's going until like the 14th, so I think he's got like a few more weeks. Not long. So
cool. Sounds like a great opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be cool. When I initially got it, my initial reaction was kind of like, oh man, like I wanted to do like architecture, details, all that kind of stuff. But then this kind of seemed like the survey kind of seemed like a step back. But the more I thought about it, I was kind of just in a mood that morning. And like the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it is actually a really good gig, because it does kind of seem like the way of the future. Like I think that we are going to be doing surveys and point clouds. Right now it's a little pricey. It's a little slow from what I've heard, but it's the kind of thing that I can only imagine in 20 years it's going to be like there's an app for something that just scans everything. I think it's going to be way easier in a matter of time. So I'm fired up to kind of get in on the ground level on this and get it figured out. I spent a lot of time doing like old school surveys. Yeah, and me too. This one seems like it's way better, because the way it works is it's got like this, it has a tripod, but this thing on top, and it spins around, and it takes like 2 minutes to fully scan, kind of one go. And you can take photos as well. So then you get like a 360 degree photo, and it shoots out like not ultraviolet, infrared. It shoots out infrared rays and then comes back. So it has all these points, and then you take all these different scans that you have to take strategically within the floor or the building, wherever. And then you bring it back into the computer, and then you assemble them together. You kind of collage them together. So then you got all these points, and it catches things that you wouldn't have caught from doing like a laser measure or a tape measure with a pencil on the plan.
Do you ever have to, you just walk in and drop this piece of equipment, it scans the room, and you just do it in a couple of spots, but do you have to go back and maybe verify 1 or 2 things or something? Or
we were doing that at first. You got so much data that I think, maybe you should take some overall dimensions. But in general, like, dude, I'd honestly trust it more, because you have like thousands of dots on each column. So it's like you were going to go there with the laser and get 1 point, because you're going to have like a laser measure, right? Yeah. And then you're going to shoot the distance to the other thing. And then you got 2 points. And that's all you got. But here you got like thousands of points on the entire face of the column.
And you never know if like your laser line was slightly off or on an angle, or,
Exactly.
And that would adjust it a half an inch or something like that.
And, we had a project that we went and scanned. Well, he did the scan, and me and another guy did like the laser measure. And we did it like the old school way. And so then we kind of compared afterwards to see kind of what was what. And with this scan, like, we figured out that actually the floor of this place slopes pretty significantly. It's like a foot between the back of the property and the front. Maybe it wasn't a foot. It might have been like 8 or 9 inches, but it was still like pretty significant. And I mean, at the end of the day, how does that really change anything on the drawings or takeoffs? Probably not a whole lot, but you don't know what you're going to catch next time.
Exactly. You probably wouldn't. Would you think you probably wouldn't have caught it if you weren't using that technology?
I would have had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. I feel like I did so much surveying as the kind of the beginning of my architecture career. I worked for this residential guy in Connecticut, and he was one of the top residential guys. And these people would buy these houses, and they'd want to do a renovation, and there's no documents. So they would send me to go measure the building, and I would measure everything with a tape. It was actually the early days of lasers. He had this old school laser. It was very expensive, and it was clunky. It looked like a VC, like a videotape, like a VHS tape. I would measure in all these houses and draw it up in ArchiCAD. Your jam. But yeah, I don't know, I feel like I learned so much about just measuring things and inputting into the computer and how to make like a whole building fit together with all this data. I don't know. And in a weird way, I've always liked it too. Like back when I started Young Architect, I did surveys for a company who did retail work. And, one of the things I learned is that retail, everything's always, I needed this 2 weeks ago. It's an emergency. Can you drop everything? We need to get this done. And since I was, I had my own business, I was just getting started with Young Architect. They'd be like, Mike, we need you to drop everything and go to the Macy's at this mall 45 minutes away. And we need you to measure the women's shoe department. And I'd be like, all right. And I'd go out there and I'd measure it, and is kind of mindless as it was. And yes, and in a weird way, yes, I was kind of above it. Like, I don't know, like a college kid could do this kind of work, but it paid really well. And while I was doing it, it was just like easy money for me. And it was like an easy way for me to go make $2,000 in a week. And I don't know, like and then I started to embrace it and be like, hey, you guys got any more surveys? Like this stuff is like a walk in the park for me. Like I felt like I hit a home run every time I did one of them. And it was easy, and I was easy to work with for them. But like I started like doing more of it, and then I left Oregon, and I haven't done any since. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of nice to have.
Did you do the drawings too?
Yeah, I did everything.
Nice.
I would even sometimes hire a friend. I'd ask one of my friends, like, hey, I got this survey I got to do. It's this giant building. Can you want to come with me and help out, and I'll pay you for it? But yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I think I had to do a survey on like my second day at the office in my first job. And I've done a lot of surveys in my day. And I don't know, man, I feel such mixed emotions about it, because there's a certain element of it that's easy, but then there's this other element of like, shit, if I forget something,
yeah, there's a lot on the line.
I'm going to be fucking around with these drawings for the next 6 months. Like in a year from now, we're going to be finishing up some CDs. I'm still going to be like, fuck, I still don't have this one measurement. I don't know. And so like I let myself get stressed out about that sometimes. But also like at my first job, it was, it's the same thing, man. It's residential. So like nobody has floor plans.
Yeah.
Up here in New York, everybody's got floor plans. Like if everybody has some existing drawings, you always have something, it seems like. But back in like single family residential, nobody's got anything. So you got to go measure everything. And we were a very detail oriented firm. So like we would measure to the 1/8 of an inch, and I'm up here, and then they want it to like the 1/2 of the inch or the 1 inch. And I'm not even used to doing that. I feel lazy.
Yeah.
Doing something to the full inch.
Yeah.
Cause I feel like, why don't you just do it to the 1/8 of an inch? Like,
yeah,
you just get it done.
But I remember I had Mark LePage on my podcast from Untitled Architect, and that was how he, in some ways, that was how he got started, was doing surveys and construction documents. He would contact all these other architects around and be like, hey, listen, if you need a survey done of a property or something, and you don't have time to do it in staff, just hire us as a consultant, and we'll do surveys. And then that parlayed into, hey, do you need extra help with your construction documents? And he started a construction documents company, acting as a little bit of extra muscle for other firms that needed help. And then that laid the groundwork for him to kind of get started with his own clients, and before he had his own clients, he was helping other architects with their clients. So
nice. Yeah, I think it's a super valuable thing to do. I've definitely learned a lot by doing it, and something about it stresses me out, but at the end of the day is also a little bit relieving. Like being there, checking it. Like we would always have to sketch it out because we didn't have floor plans initially, and so you're kind of doing these drawings, and like they're on site, and you're holding 16 different things. You got a tape measure, a laser measure, a pencil, a clipboard, some sketchbook paper, and you're like holding the cap of the pen in your mouth, and it's like you're juggling all these things, and then the client is there talking to you for some reason, and
too
like
much.
Yeah, but like even like doing that, I don't know. It's so nice like being away from the computer for a while, being out in buildings, because I like buildings and I like exploring buildings, and it's cool to kind of measure some stuff and figure it out and try to kind of piece it together, and then you bring it back, and then you're like, what's incredibly frustrating is when the numbers don't add up.
Yeah, but you always
that's the part that stresses me out.
Cover your butt, man, and do lots of long dimensions and cross-check yourself. So, and then like that's another thing I've learned too is you're gonna forget something. You're gonna forget something on site, no matter what. You're gonna forget but so cover your butt with lots of pictures, lots of extra dimensions. Measure it from different perspectives, and then it kind of becomes like you can kind of sleuth your way through and reverse engineer it and figure out what it was. But
yeah. And I think that I don't know if there's a good process to doing surveys, but I feel like one of the things I think about whenever I go to do a survey is I think about, like you said, the overall dimension, but then you also have to get the little things in between. And so it's important to like look at the drawings and be able to like, you have to stack all the dimensions on top of each other, all the little intermediate dimensions to make sure you get all the way across the room or across the facade or whatever. And after a while, you kind of get good at identifying, all right, what are the critical things? What do I need for this to all work? Because if you're missing one or two, you can miss one, and then you don't know where anything goes, you know? And so being able to like look at them all and stack it helps me to kind of process what I need, how do I work my way across the building. And you have to have that for each room, and then all the things in the room, you got to be able to locate it to everything. I don't know if there's a better process, but yeah, I've learned how to kind of feel my way through it.
Back like when I first started Young Architect, I was gonna do I was gonna write this like long-winded blog post about how to measure a building properly and share like my tips and tricks and strategies and all that, but so much time has passed. It's been so long since I've measured anything. I've kind of lost all that knowledge.
Dude, that's the thing I need. That's the article I need. We had an interesting relationship with some firm when I was in Atlanta. There was the firm was in Miami, I think, and they have some type of relationship with like a wax salon. And so this wax salon moves into these retail spaces, and they need somebody to go in and kind of verify. Most of the time they got drawings. There's in some development or some existing retail space is getting renovated, and they kind of just need to verify what's there. But so they would have me go in and do that. And we didn't even have to do drawings. They were like, just send us your sketch measurements so we can verify on our plans. And I did probably like 8 of these or something like that. And this was an interesting group of things to go do, because I felt like I was actually producing a hand-drawn drawing. It wasn't a drafted drawing on the computer. It was actually like my hand notes, and then we scanned it and put it on our letterhead, and we would send it off. And so I learned also like how to kind of assemble that drawing with just hand drawings, and that was cool. And it was almost more fun doing that drawing, honestly, by hand rather than on the computer, because I could just write down the dimension. It didn't have to be like measured out accurately with a scale. But that was fun, and it was interesting too the way that the different projects went, because I'd get some new one to go do, and it'd be like, okay, I gotta drive like 45 minutes out to go do this measurement, and then like the rest of the afternoon I'll spend like touching up the drawing, making sure all the dimensions add up, make sure that there's no mistakes, make sure it looks clear, somebody can read it. and then packaging the photos. Then one time we had one all the way out in Athens, Georgia. And Athens, Georgia is where the University of Georgia is. And it's about like an hour and a half drive from Atlanta, maybe a little less, maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And so it was basically a full day thing to drive out there, do the measurements, come back. And when you show up on site, it's like, okay, there's somebody there to give you your contact, your point person, and they're going to let you in. But if you get there and shit hits the fan, like you can't get in, fuck, you just drove all the way out here. And so I remember going to that one, like a little stressed, like, do I have all the batteries? Do I have the camera? Do I have everything, right?
Yeah.
And I got there, and it was like the easiest one I had ever done, because it was a building that I think nobody had occupied the retail space yet. There was still gravel. Everything was exposed. You have to locate the pipes and stuff, but you know exactly where that is. You can see the underside of the slab. Everything's crystal clear. And there was even a guy on site who knew where everything was. He showed me where the generators were, the loading dock, every single thing I needed to know, all open, beautiful. An hour and a half drive. I was so scared about it. It was actually the best one. Then the next project we had from them was literally just 10 minutes down the street. Like it was, I would have to turn in building permits basically next door to this place. So I thought, oh, this is right down the road. So this is going to be so easy. I get there, and it's this building that I don't know when the building was built, probably like in the 50s or something like that. And there's like a bike store next door. This particular one, though, is like some woman started some entrepreneurial thing where she sells clothing or whatever, and little knickknacks for like women's clothes and whatever. It's some little jewelry clothing store. And she's moving out of that place into some other fancy place in Atlanta. And she's like not really moved out yet, and she's not there. So I show up and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to measure the storefront while I'm waiting. And then she finally shows up, and then she's like, who are you? What are you here for? I was like, I talked to Rory, the landlord. He said that you're going to let us in. And she's like, Rory's an asshole, blah, blah, blah. And like, come on in. But like, I get in there, and like, there's still a bunch of junk everywhere. It's not empty. I can't just do like when there's nothing in the room, it's easy to shoot the measurements. But when it's full, it's hard to get everything you need. Yeah. So I'm getting the details that I need. I'm probably halfway done. And she was like, we have to go to the other store, so you need to leave. And I was like, what? And she was like, you have to get out of here. I was like, the landlord owns this place. I'm like working on his behalf, and he's giving me permission to be here. She's like, you need to, and the stress of the situation, like I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure she said, if you don't leave, I'm going to call the cops and have you arrested. And I'm like,
great.
I'm not getting arrested over some bullshit. I'm leaving. I'm down the road. The principal's going to understand. So I go out and I do like the last bit of measurements out in the back, like in the back. But she was being kind of a bitch. Yeah. And she apologized the next day or a few days later when I got back there. Also, in the stress of it all, I wasn't thinking. I left the camera.
Oh God.
In the store. So I have to go back, talk to the principal. I'm a little shook. and then like we talked to like the other guys and contact the people back in Florida. We contact the landlord and all this shit, and like smooth everything out. And they're like, all right, listen, you can come back in on Thursday or whenever it was. I got back in there and got the other stuff, but it was like, you know, the one down the road that was supposed to be the easy one is the one where somebody threatens to have me arrested.
Of course, that's how it works. One of the things I've learned too with measuring, doing surveys, is it's freaking exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting. And you know what I've figured out? The exhausting part of it is looking down and writing stuff, and then looking into the big space, and then zooming into your drawing, and then looking at the big space, and going back and forth. I learned that it just drains the energy out of me.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
It's also even just the posture of like being hunched over the thing, like exactly what you just did, right? It's like standing like that all day is like not good. That doesn't make you feel good. Yeah. Like I'd rather be having like standing up, but instead I'm like hunched over, holding, balancing a tape measure on the clipboard. Yeah. With the pen and the pencil.
One of the things I did too is when I another thing too is because I'd go to the laser scanner to the tape measure to the pen to the drawing pad, and putting things down. Like we're all the tools. I ended up getting this big fanny pack, and I would put the tape measure, the laser, all of my tools, and I would just drop it in the fanny pack, so it was easy for me to just like grab what I needed as I needed it. And
Pro
then
move.
yeah, I'm remembering all the stuff I was going to write in that article. And then I also learned too is if you're measuring with another person, the person writing, doing all the writing needs to be the same person who inputs it into the computer.
Yeah.
That's been like I've been in situations where the person writing the stuff down is not the same person putting it in, and it's just mass confusion. I don't understand how you did this and that, and so yeah.
Do you think that one of them should be calling the shots as to what gets measured?
I think they both should be thinking about how it gets measured and what the measurements need to be and how it's going to be put into the computer.
At my office, they had some type of like canvas bag, and it was like, it said Us Weekly on it, and it was in pink. And I didn't like carrying this around anyway because it was some pink Us Weekly bag, but most importantly because it was a canvas bag you had to hold with your hands. And I somewhere along the way got one of those like bags that had like the drawstring on the back that turns into shoulder straps.
Yeah.
And that worked so much better. Like I felt like having something you could put on your back was easier because it was like, rather than one more thing to hold, like this bag with the camera in it, was a pain. But the fanny pack seems like it might be a little bit more strategic.
Yeah, it's amazing how far technology's come too. I don't know. That's not something I want to get into, but I would love to see like how all the point cloud, it just, shoots all these dots all over the room and builds this thing for you. Like, I don't know. It's amazing. Someday.
It's funny too, because like you can even like see people. Because if a person is standing in the way, then the point cloud shoots them too. So you'll see, but when you see them show up kind of in this world, it's like you see like one side and then the rest is like empty. It's like you see their shadow kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you only see like one side of them, but they look like this hollow shell. And we've got a couple of funny photos of like people like hunched over the thing, tinkering with some shit, while holding the umbrella over it while it was outside.
Yeah, that's funny. So today I made a video for the Arkatizer one drawing challenge. I put up on my YouTube. So last year, right before I was getting ready to leave for one of my tours, I was having a chat with my buddy, Mr. Paul Keskes, good friend of mine. He's the editor of Archetyzer. And they had just created this idea. We're going to have an Archetyzer competition. It's going to be a drawing competition, one drawing. And basically, they just want a great architectural drawing that tells a story. And that's what they're looking for. Just a great drawing that tells a story. And they're like, Mike, will you help us promote this? They're like, you're getting ready to leave to do a speaking tour in all these cities. Will you help us promote this on your tour? And I said, sure. And so I talked about it as I traveled around the country. And it turned into a huge success last year. It was the first time they did it. And then a couple weeks ago, I was talking to Paul again. He's like, we're doing it again. Can you help us out? And like, we got a big response. So today I made a video on YouTube and just promoted the Archetyzer competition. It's in a weird way. One of the things I said at the end of the video, like, here we are, we're in the middle of this pandemic. America's in a really weird spot. What a great time to launch a drawing competition. There's not much else going on in the world, and like, let's get some drawings, man. Like, let's sit down and make some great drawings, or even maybe grab something that you've done on another project and submit it for this competition. So yeah, I'm excited for that. I keep pressuring Arkatizer. I want them to, I proposed it last year, but since it was the first year, they're like, Mike, I don't know about that. It's a kind of a crazy idea, but I keep bringing it up to them. I want them to print out these drawings and real big. And I want them to create like a little art show at the Young Architect Conference. And like and when we have the next Young Architect Conference, we're gonna have such a huge space. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we could use like all of these beautiful drawings and just set them all up and let people see and just kind of raise more awareness around it? They're like, Mike, that's a great idea. We're going to talk about it. But so no pressure, Arkatizer. But yeah. But yeah, I'm promoting their, they've always been the Young Arkatizer has always been so supportive of me and Young Architect and the conference and the summer series and everything that we work on. Yeah, I'll happily help them promote their competition.
That's really cool, man. I saw the drawings from theirs last year, and they were awesome.
Yeah,
like they were so good. And I like the idea that you had too of doing that on the printing it out. Like you could even sell prints, I would assume. I mean, as long as you could pay commission to the people who actually did it or something like that.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe that would be cool. I'm reminded of the Cooper River Bridge Run, which is a 10K in Charleston, South Carolina. And actually, is this painting behind me is what they do is every year they have a design competition for who's going to do the drawings on the shirts, and it becomes like the poster, the shirt kind of image for that year. This one was from 1994, which is like the first year I did it. But they got this big contest around it, and then they put on all these shirts and these mugs and these posters, and like seeing like these drawings out around is so cool.
Yeah, we're actually doing a design competition right now on 99 Designs. Do you know about 99 Designs, Drew?
Yeah.
I don't know if we've ever talked about it on this podcast before. But
you and I have talked about it, but not on the podcast.
Yeah. So now I use 99 Designs all the time. They actually designed the Young Architect logo. They've designed a bunch of the Young Architect conference posters. They've designed a lot of stuff for me. And it's expensive. And actually, so how it works is you sign up, you pay, you say, I'm going to do it. It creates a design competition for you. I'm going to do a design competition I need a logo. I need a poster. I need some kind of a design. And you choose your price points. Do you want to pay? How much do you want to pay for this? I've always gone to the top. It's usually like, I don't know, $700-800. I always go for the upper period just because I've gotten quality work out of them. The Young Architect logo, I think I paid $800 for it, and I've definitely got my money's worth out of it. And they create a design competition. You write up a whole brief, and then all these artists start putting in submissions, and you judge them, and then you choose one at the end. And we actually have one going on right now, Drew. You want? Maybe I'll show it to you. Should I share my screen? You want to see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me show it
Let's
to you.
See.
Okay, so let me give you some context first. We're doing the Young Architect Summer Series in 3 weeks. And by the time this podcast comes out, the Summer Series will have happened, and this will have been announced. But one of the big things we're going to announce at the end of the Young Architect Summer Series, I feel weird saying this but by the time this gets published, it'll have been announced already, was that we're going to create the Young Architect Winter Series. We're going to do this whole thing all over again in 6 months. And
6 months?
Yeah, 6 months. We're going to do it all over again. We're going to get a whole new group of speakers and workshop leaders and respin the whole thing. So, because, and let me tell you kind of where it came from, Drew, is because, Young Architect Conference got postponed. So the next conference is in 2021. And I said, what happens at the end of the summer series? Do we start selling tickets to the Young Architect Conference? And looking at what's going on in the world with the coronavirus, it's kind of weird to ask someone to buy a conference ticket for this thing a year away. Like, who knows where we're going to be in a year? And I said, and a year is a long time to wait. And I said, let's just do it again in 6 months. So we're going to do the Young Architect Winter Series in 6 months. And then 6 months after that will be the in-person Young Architect Conference. So we started talking like, okay, so if we're going to propose the Winter Series, we kind of need graphics for it. Like it'd be great if we had our graphics all ready and we could just show it to people at the Summer Series. So we did it in a 99 design competition for the Summer Series. It was already done. So I just took what we submitted then and said, we're doing the Winter Series and here's the criteria. So I wrote up a whole brief. Let's start there. I'll show you the brief that I wrote up. Let me share my screen here. All right. Organization. Describe your organization and products. It's the winter series. This is what it is. Blah, blah, blah. Content details. I want a poster, an 11 by 17 and an 18 by 24. You know, it starts with the poster. We need a good poster. Same poster. We just adjust the graphics to make it work at both sizes. This is what it needs to. This is what it needs. This graphic. It needs to say this, 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 and this. References. Is there anything else you'd like to communicate? And this is actually stuff I learned. Like, do not submit designs that are rendered into a scene. No designs with famous buildings or antique architecture drafting tools. I can't tell you how many designs I've looked at that have an architectural compass on it. It looks like a Black Spectacles logo. None of that. And then I give them all of our old designs from all of our all of our work. And so they take all this information and they start submitting designs. So this competition is, I launched it on Sunday. Today is what? Wednesday. We're still in the entry phase. And actually a lot of stuff's going to happen really quick. So let's go back to the beginning. This was the first design that came in. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of weird. I kind of like it. And as weird as it is, we looked at a lot, and so that was one of the better ones. We get a lot of crap as well. One of the things I look at when I do 99 designs is I always look at it through a lens of, could I have created this myself? And if the answer is yes, then why am I paying them to design this stuff for me? And like this, I could have created this myself in Photoshop. Sometimes they throw in, you know, stock images. I could have found these stock images myself and put all the parts together. But then as I go through, so they submit all these designs and I rate them like we don't like this kind of stuff because I could have just created it on our own. We didn't need 9. This is actually one of the ones that we kind of liked. It's kind of cutesy. It's got those winter colors to it. But we're still kind of in the early preliminary phases of just getting designs. And then what happens next is the designers, they submit a ton of stuff. And then we pick like 3 or 4 designers and we shortlist them and give them a chance to keep working and, finessing the designs. There's even a point where sometimes we could even ask people we could do like a contest. I could like choose, oh, look at this. I hate this. I know this guy actually, he submitted in one of our other ones, another design looked exactly like this. I could give you like, Drew, choose your favorite 3, posters or stuff like that. But, yeah, we have a lot of fun with this stuff, me and Joanna. And see, look, there's the summer series poster next to the winter series poster. And this is actually what I meant by don't give it to us in a scene. Like, I don't care. I want to just see posters. But yeah, right now we're still in the early phases and we got 1 day left to kind of like get in the game. And so actually we're at the point where a lot of stuff is going to start rolling in very quickly over the next 24 hours. We're going to get a lot of designs are going to pour in. And then what me and Joanna do is we've been pretty ruthless lately is if people give us like 2 or 3 really bad designs, we just eliminate them and say, because we've had people that just keep giving us bad design after bad design. And it's actually like taking up our time and they're not going to make the cut. So, it sounds kind of ruthless, but we're doing them and ourselves a favor by just eliminating. We don't want to see any more designs from you. So actually we've already eliminated the really bad ones, but right now we're just kind of collecting designs and seeing where we go from here. So this is still kind of at the beginning, middle phase of our 99 designs thing.
Very cool.
Yeah. It's expensive.
I was surprised that more of them didn't use like more wintry imagery. Like some of them did, but
yeah, I don't know. I don't like to give them too much direction, but I said, we did the summer series, which has a lot of, I have those graphics right here. Hold on a second. I'll show it to you.
It's kind of yellows in it, right?
Yeah, it's yellows. It looks like an ice cream cone or something. It's very different from all of our other graphics, but, so winter, let's flip that. Let's take a good look at the summer one and think about wintertime. And let's make it feel cold. Maybe use like a light blue, maybe snow or something, but see what you can work with.
The pink and the light blue go well together.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. like every time someone submits, okay, so we launch a competition, and the first thing I do is every day with 99 designs, you can invite 50 designers. So I go through and I find 50 designers and I invite them to participate. And then every day we go through and we comment or we leave feedback for every design that gets submitted. And the designers can see how interactive you are. Say that, you know, this person's commented on this times. And so they start to see that you're serious about it. And then they start throwing stuff in there, but it's a lot of work. But I've worked with individual designers, and I actually like doing this more. I feel like I love seeing the variety. Yes, I look at a lot of crap, but I love having the variety of choices and just going through the design process with them, because I feel like they come up with stuff that I could have never thought of. And then another thing too is that I don't let the designers, there's an option. You can have a public contest or a private one. The designers I've seen it happen, is they start to steal each other's ideas because they could see what's happening, whatever other people are submitting. So I just make everything private. I also make it guaranteed. There's another, you could do these contests, and if you don't like any of the designs, you could just back out and say, I'm not paying anyone. We're not going to choose a winner, this and that. And it screws the designers because they work on your designs. They put in all this time and energy, and you're not choosing anyone. So they're like, a lot of people see that and they're like, why even bother? So I say, no, we're guaranteeing we're going to choose a winner. So the designers take it a lot more serious. But
nice.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah, it seems like what you got to do.
It seems expensive at the upfront, but it's been a hell of a lot cheaper, and I feel like we've gotten better designs, and it is just hiring one graphic designer to come up with some cool stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. And you got a million other things going on too. Yeah. Like I remember back in college, it seemed like there's kind of this idea that, oh, you're a designer, so you should design everything. And that's not really practical, you know? I mean, It makes sense that you consider the design of everything, but there's a lot of stuff out there that has been done already. And I've learned that through working on my website with the Design Lab review stuff and plenty of other things like that. Like there's all kinds of little, you're out here. I remember back in college being like, oh, I got to design like some little icon for this stuff. There's stock icons. Like the people who are making websites don't necessarily know how to design like a graphic designer. They know how to select package. They've designed everything on there is basically designed as a plugin for you to then go use. And you got to modify some things, but in general, a lot of the design stuff that you think you were told you had to do when you were a student is like, you know, there's a more intelligent way of doing it, a more professional way of getting it done.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, this is super powerful to be able to get a bunch of different options for something like that, for something that is important to get it right. And it does have to be designed, but you're also designing a million other things in functioning of the program.
Yeah. It's also fun to be the client too, you know?
Yeah, I bet.
And sit back and impress me with your great designs and see what you got, and helping them kind of figure that out. There's been a lot of times when we've used 99 Designs, they've come up with they've shown me something which has inspired another idea, which said, hey, why don't you try it this way? And I would have never come up with that on my own. So it's kind of fun to play that role, to kind of shift the tables a little bit.
And I've been there on the other side too, right? I've been like talking with the principal about like working on do it this way. And then I'm working on it and it comes over and checks and then he's like, change it like this and like this. And I'm like, why would I do that? That's stupid. I'm like, fine, I'll do it. And at the end, I'm like, wow, that's really is better. Good call, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things too I've learned too with working in offices is sometimes when we're looking at our own drawings, it's hard to see you're looking at it over and over again. And sometimes it's hard to see something that could be very blatant. And someone that hasn't been looking at the drawing walks over and takes a look at it and they say, oh, why don't you do it, you know, X, Y, and Z? And you go, oh my God. And even though that like was right in front of your face the whole time, it was hard to see because you're in the thick of it and you've been looking at it with a magnifying glass for so long.
Sometimes it's a little bit that you can't detach. And then it's also a little bit that I think I've noticed myself having my eye on the goal. And I'm just trying to get that goal, but along the way, something comes up that was a better option. I just didn't catch it. Like I got some renderings on my website where we were doing a rendering for this building. It was like an auxiliary building, like an in-law suite in the backyard of this project. And I hit render, so it was going. So then I got up to go to the bathroom, and I came back in, and then the principal had walked past my desk and sat down and looked at it, just sitting there staring at the computer screen. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, what'd you do to this one? And I was like, nothing. It's still processing. It's got to do the white model first, and then it does the lighting, and then it's going to bring in the textures in a minute. Don't worry about it. And he was like, no, I like this. Do it like this. And I was like, what? Is it make it look like this? I'm like, okay. So then I was like, okay, how do we get like a white model? And we had this white model with these yellow lights on the inside. It looked really great. I can't share my screen because I'm on the iPad.
Yeah.
Can you pull up my website, drewpaulbell.com?
Yeah, let's take a look. Give me 1 second, Drew. drewpaulbell.com. That's an awesome.
On the main slider.
URL. Here we go.
It might be the second image is the white thing with the yellow lights on the inside.
All right, hold on. Let me fix this. This main slider.
That one.
Yeah. I'm clicking on it.
Oh shit, that doesn't open up the link. Oh, scroll down.
There it is.
That one on the left.
Yeah, 665 WW. www.drewpaulbell.com. There we go.
So it was like this. And I think it was I think it might have been a different image, but it was like that back house. We had a different image of that house. The little in-law suite. And he walked by and he saw it, right? And I had my eyes set on the goal of the photorealistic rendering for the variance. Like we had to apply for a variance because it's so close to the lot line, and it's actually there's an existing carport right there. So our argument was, yeah, we're going to tear down the carport and build something new, but they have a building there currently, so we should still be able to build within the setback. And he liked it. So we took a little screen grab and then worked on nailing it where it looked really good. So we turned it into like a white model with yellow lights on the inside. And
yeah,
I was really proud with the way this one turned out.
How are you doing this, Drew? Is this all ArchiCAD?
So it's ArchiCAD plus a little bit of Photoshop.
Okay.
If you look close, you see that there's kind of a little texture to it, like a pencil.
Yeah.
And there is a rendering setting in ArchiCAD that lets you render Koh-i-Noor, like a technical pencil kind of rendering. And you can fucks around with the settings to have like outlines and shadow lines and thicknesses and how common are the lines. But we had spent a lot of time previously getting that all ironed out. And so then we would do a rendering that was like a photorealistic rendering, but in this case it was set to a white model. And we did a rendering with the technical pencil, and then we layered them in Photoshop. So it highlights the edges a little bit better, gives a little bit better texture, and then turned the lights yellow. And it was just regular white lights. It didn't pop, but with this one, and that doesn't work with everything, because if all you got is a couple of punch windows, the yellow light on the inside doesn't read. But with the way my principal always designed things, you like always had clear stories, always had lots of windows, and so it shows really well on these types of shots. Then there's another shot, if you scroll down, I think, where you're probably going to see the side of the.
What shot did you want me to look at?
I think if you scroll down, I think you might click. I think you've clicked into the JPEG.
Oh yeah, I'm in the drawing. Oh, yeah, before I click out though, I want to say I love how you can get inside the rooms. Like I can see the teapot on the oven right there. You can see the books on the bookshelf. I like how you could really see what's happening inside these spaces.
You see how those bricks down there actually align?
Yeah, the bricks all work.
They don't look all skewed. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the shadows and the reflections. Look, you can see the reflection of the shadow in the. This is a great drawing, Drew. You should submit it to the competition. Tells the story. There you go. What were we gonna say? Scroll down. Oh, here we go.
That's the front. Oh, by the way, so about this project. All right, so that in the photo below is the existing house. And so they were renovating. It's a little salt box house, man. This is like an 800 square foot house. It's a family with a mother, a father, and a son. And that is a too small house. So we were doing this addition on the back. and then there's a square on looking at the back. That's the in-law suite. So like upstairs or downstairs, I think the mother-in-law would be able to move in, and then the other, actually, they were going to rent out.
Cool.
And so in this one, you know, we still got a couple windows down there on that bottom one, but if you do like a kind of a typical house, like if we did the house that's on site now, those yellow lights on the inside wouldn't pop the same, because it takes the big windows to make it look good. And obviously, I get attention to detail. We got the lights. Notice on this one too, the lights under.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. They probably didn't build that. Did they?
Right. No. Yeah, it's a whole sad story. This is one of those ones that like they came in without a real. Well, they came in without a very firm budget.
Yeah.
They came in with some type of a budget, and then we designed this, and then it cost more than what they were willing to spend, and then we dialed it back, and then we dialed it back again, and so what actually got built was like not even a shadow of this. It was something very, very different.
Cool drawings, cool section.
We submitted this for a few design awards, and it didn't win any. I was kind of surprised. Like, I really thought it was going to do well. And I was real happy with the design too. We spent a lot of time. We were almost done with CDs, I think, when they came in, and they were like, we just can't do this. We got to cut it back. Yeah. And there was a lot of details on the millwork in that and everything. It was a fun project to work on, honestly, even though it didn't get built. I mean, I hate saying that.
So they demoed this little shed right here and really built out a real porch. And
yeah, that was the plan. And it was going to be this real thin porch too. Like, we designed it with steel, so that way it would be real thin. And then they got kind of these floating steps. And I think we had a detail in the construction documents that allowed us to have those kind of floating steps. I think there's like CMU under there, where one of them is cantilevered off and the other step sits on top. And then we were going to install lights under that. They got little LED strips. And so that's what would have gone there. Actually rendering it was kind of a pain in the ass, because I had to like array a ton of lights, like the light object. And that slowed down the file a lot, and then made that way longer to render than it probably should have been. But, you know, we had to have something like that. And then there was an editing as well on the gray ground versus the black sky. And then also point out that, you know, there's a standing seam metal roof.
Yeah.
We also made a point to make sure that those all were right.
Yeah.
You know, like, a lot of the stuff's in the details, not only for the rendering, but also for the design, you know?
Yeah. It's a cool project. Cool space. Drew, your website looks really solid.
Thanks, man.
Is it Squarespace?
It's actually with WordPress.
Okay. WordPress.com?
.org. The one
you built from like scratch?
Paid. Yeah, I mean, so the way that the WordPress stuff works is you download like the theme, and then I selected this theme, and a bunch of the stuff was kind of close enough to what I was looking for. And then I don't know, there's a logic to building it, and you can pick whichever theme you want, and it starts out looking different. So I picked one that looked kind of the vibe I wanted, and then started plugging stuff in.
Yeah, love it. Drew, I think next week, by the time we talk, Young Architect will have a completely new website. Maybe we'll talk about that next week.
Nice.
Yeah. Been working on it forever. And then I ended up hiring a couple of guys that could finish it for me. And I think they're ready. We're going to meet with them in the next couple of days and launch it.
Awesome. So they've been working on it?
Yeah. It's been a work in progress for a very long time. I built the original Young Architect myself, and it worked. It was functional for a while, and then it just wasn't good enough. And I'm not a web guy. I'm an architect, and I ended up hiring another guy to help me take it to the next level, and I was never really happy with it after that point. And then I feel like it's lasted way too long, and then I hired these guys, and we've spent a lot of time looking at, kind of look at the design of it and how it works and what the function of it is. And I'm really happy with kind of the work they've done. So I'm excited to get that launched.
Yeah. So when they do that, so you already have like a backlog blogs though, right?
Yeah.
So are those going to be on the website?
Yeah, there's everything's gonna transfer over.
Nice.
There were two guys I hired. One was a project manager to kind of help with the design element of it, and the other was kind of a developer who worked on the back end and made sure all the pieces were tied together. And they worked together real good as a team. And everything's going to transfer over. I used to use Bluehost, and Bluehost is kind of like the McDonald's of web hosting, and they're cheap. Yes, it's cheap. It's okay. It's not the best. And so they ended up migrating, taking all of my content and moving it over to a better hosting site. There were times when people were trying to sign up for ARI Bootcamp, and Bluehost was just overwhelmed, and they can't get to youngarchitect.com. And I've freaked out. Be like, I'm losing money because my freaking website, my own website doesn't work to collect it, And so yeah, I'm excited to. Because I built it myself, and it started as a DIY project. There was a lot of sloppiness and just silly mistakes. It wasn't properly built, and so to have a person who really understands that, kind of clean the whole thing up and properly. And actually, what we did is we started from scratch. We abandoned what I had created and created a whole new website. And then it was a matter of taking the blog posts and the content and just migrating that stuff over. It was actually easier to do that than it would have been to just fix my disaster of a DIY project. So.
Yeah, man, I spent a lot of time fucking around with that WordPress thing. I remember it was like my summer before my 5th year in architecture school that I was working real hard on it. Scratch that. It was actually 5th year, and then a little bit summer after 5th year. Luckily, somebody in my studio in 5th year knew how to do web page design, and he looked at the WordPress stuff, and he was like, "Yeah, man, like I can help you out. If like I'm looking at this, like I know how to do this. If you need me to do this, I say go for it." So I bought the theme, and then I actually ended up going to a bunch of like meetups with some WordPress people. And it was a lot of Googling around. It was major time sink. I learned a lot, but when you're trying to do like a professional website, it's hard to pull that off. I spoke to somebody about doing the Design Lab Reviews website for me, but with it was a reasonable price. It was just I just don't have a ton of cash, and it didn't make sense with no proof of concept yet.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't made a single sale. I decided I was gonna build the Design Lab Reviews website as well by myself, but within a year or two, probably hire somebody to redo it.
Yeah, let him make some money first.
Yeah.
I tried using Squarespace. I hated it. I struggled. I couldn't figure it out. I just abandoned it. And I tried Squarespace because it was simpler than WordPress. WordPress is way more complicated. And then I just got frustrated. I said, I'm going to do WordPress, and I learned how to use it. It's not that hard. I learned the basics of it.
Some people swear up and they swear by Squarespace, and they also sponsor a lot of ads. So I feel like people are talking about it all the time. Yeah. But they said that WordPress powers websites like Amazon and eBay. Like maybe not Amazon, I don't remember for sure, but like some it's big name websites you've heard of before that sound like name brands when you look at their website. So I'm hey man, if this is good enough for that stuff.
Like Coca-Cola. Because WordPress is just an infrastructure. It's like a coding language that is really simple and basic. And then like someone that knows programming can just go bananas with it and create all types of complex stuff.
And they create these plugins, and then you just put the plugin on the website. Like my principal went to go visit a site a few weeks ago, and because of the coronavirus, nobody else could go there. He took all these photos, and he's like, we have to find a way to create some kind of document so that everybody who works on this thing knows where the photos were taken. And so I was arguing for this plugin, because there's a plugin that does that. You upload a floor plan, you hover over it, and then like a little thing pops up and it shows you the image from that room. And you can use this if you're trying to sell apartments, if you got some website with like a map and you want to show fun facts about Alberta versus Canada or whatever, like you can have some map, and something does exactly that. And there's so much innovation. that happens in there. There's all these people, all these coders figuring out all these things you could possibly want, and it's in there. You might got to pay $50 for the plugin, but there it is, you know.
Yeah.
What we ended up settling on for this thing was, it was like we did some PDF with little dots, with a long PDF with like 300 pages, and then like this room has a dot on it. You click on that dot, it takes you down to page number like 217, and then that's where that photo was taken. It's like not as classy. It works, but like it's not not as elegant, you know. Yeah, there's a lot of options you got in that WordPress thing. Once you really figure out how it works, you can do a lot. But it still helps if you like have that knowledge. And without, I still want to be an architect, not a website developer, so I'm not like fully in it.
I know. And up until recently, I always struggled working with computer tech guys. I would pay them I need you to fix my website for me. And they'd be like, all right, I'm all done. I fixed it, and pay me, Mike. And they didn't fix it, and they want me to pay them. And I just felt like we were speaking two different languages. And that was part of why Young Architect looked so crappy for so long, was because I was just frustrated working with tech guys. And then it was actually last summer, I met one of my friends. It actually was when we created ARIPrepReviews.com. My friend Jamie was the project manager of it. She oversaw kind of the vision, how it all worked. She brought in her tech guy, who was just phenomenal, and he did a fantastic job. And we've been working with them, and I've just let them take over and fix all my website tech issues. You are my go-to team. You've got the keys to everything. Whatever. And so when you find a good tech person, you got to hang on to them.
Nice. Yeah, I buy that.
All right, Drew, let's wrap up this podcast. We've been rambling for a while. I think these podcasts this new podcast we're doing. I feel like every week we show up and we're like, I don't know what to talk about. But then you and I just go off for like an hour or so, and there's plenty of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, man.
It's been fun.
Yep. Been good.
Yeah. I'm excited
Look forward to this every week.
Yeah, me too. And we still don't have a name for this, Drew. It's something we got to think about. What are we going to call this podcast? We still have a couple of weeks before we'll release it, but we'll figure it out.
Tuesday talking Tuesdays.
Taco
Tuesday, I feel like it's kind of like, that's kind of taken. I don't know. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
We'll think about it.
We'll think about it. I'm still kind of, as silly and simple and plain Jane as it is, I kind of like the Mike and Drew show.
Yeah, me too.
You know, Mike and Drew, maybe make it the Mike and Drew architecture show, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Simple. So, all right, man, it was good chatting with you. Let's chat next week. Thanks to everyone that was listening. I hope this was helpful. I hope maybe you learned something. And I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.
See you guys.